Hello everyone and welcome to week 2 of the Country Life Felt Panel Sew Along. I am so happy you're here. Week 2 is all about the felt dolls that live inside and embellishing them. So we're going to learn how to give them a little bit of extra stiffness and then also just some extra texture. I do want to preface this video with saying the techniques that I'm going to show you today and what I'm offering is all additional and optional. So the great thing about felt is that the edges are already finished when you cut them. So you can go right ahead and cut them and start playing as they are. If you want just to add a little bit of extra to them or a little bit more dimension, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to do that here today. So all of these felt characters last week we cut out roughly. I'm going to just show you one here that I've cut out roughly. So this is the little mouse. You can see him. There he is. And he's just roughly cut out on a square. Then I'm going to use a stabilizer that is just a sew-in stabilizer. So this one is called Stitch and Sew. It's a cutaway and it's a medium weight soft. Great for embroidery and mid to heavy projects. So just to give it some extra stability, I always like to say it's what's inside that counts. And so really this is just a fantastic product. This is by Thermoweb Stitch and Sew. So I'm using that inside. So I've cut another square, just a rough square to match. So there's my little felt mouse. There's my stabilizer. And I've cut just a third piece of felt. Now I'm not going to put that on just yet, but I do want to have it so it does fit there so we can have all 3 layers. Now I'm going to tell you why I don't put it on just yet. Because if I'm going to do some hand embroidery, which I really want us to do, to show you some tips and tricks on that, then we'll have the knots and everything else hidden between this layer and this layer of the sandwich. So right now we'll just take these 2 pieces. If you have one that is an iron-on or a press-on, you can go ahead and press it now. That way it'll stay and won't move at all, but it's small enough that you can hold or just put a pin in as well. I do want to also let you know that if you are pressing felt, this is an acrylic felt, so just be careful to test block first or a test bit first, and always press on the stabilizer side and not directly onto the printed felt side. All right, so I'm going to drop the camera down here for a while and just let's get sewing right together. Here we go.
Okay, so here we have all of our supplies. We are going to take that little mouse, that interfacing that we have, or that sew and stitch stabilizer, that cutaway, or you can have fusible, and our back piece of felt. And we have some of our embroidery floss here, some needles. I'm using a DMC embroidery needle, number 1 to 5. So I like the biggest hole. I have my glasses on so I can see. I have my little scissors here, and I also have my free download instructions right beside me. Let's pretend that this was fusible, and I just want to show you how I would do this. So I would place this face down. I would place that, place the fusible side down, and then I would just press, and I would keep checking. All right. But since it's not fusible, I'm just going to hold it together. You can also easily put a pin. I didn't bring my other pins close to me here, so I'll just grab one of these. If you wanted to, you could put a pin in like this to hold the pieces together also. And we're going to just I'm going to do some accents in the ears and on the tail and maybe on the nose. So I'm going to take my pink, and I just used all 6 strands. I've used all 6 strands, and I threaded it through the needle. And then I just take this and this is a knot I learned, oh my goodness, when I was just a young child. So you wrap it around at least once again so it overlaps, and roll it off your finger. As you roll it off your finger, you take your free finger and pull, and then it just gives you that little knot at the end there. Sometimes I can cut off that edge if it didn't go all the way to the edge. Now don't forget, anything on the back, we're gonna be covering up at the end with that piece of felt, so that will be no problem. Okay, let's start with his nose. So I'm gonna come in from the back, and I would like to do a nice big French knot. Since this is for children, I want lots of texture. I'm going to take that out. I want lots and lots of texture. 1, 2. Sometimes I just do 1. I'm going to wrap it around twice for kids, and I'm going to keep pulling. And then I'm going to put it right in very, very close where it was. Still hold on to that thread as it's pulling through. So it's going to stay nice and tight. And look how cute that is. Oh my goodness. The thing that's so wonderful is that now it's like locked to the back. It has lots of texture and it's really fun for children. Maybe I'll put a little X in each ear. So you can just be as creative as you want. You can just do a little stitch like that. So the more creative you are, the more kind of like fun and personal it will be. The great thing about felt is that it already has so much stability. So if you weren't using a stabilizer, you'd still be great. But you can't go wrong with any kind of stitches that you want to do. And this is a great place to start teaching you know, young teens and preteens how to sew. So if they have siblings or Christmas presents for cousins or for church friends or anything like that, this is a great place for them to learn to sew. Or maybe they just are really interested in these kinds of animals too, and then they can attach these to their own school bag tags. So I did 2 little X's in the ears, a little knot, and I'm going to do a running stitch for this tail. So I'm going to come a little bit closer here. I'm going to do a stitch along the tail. Maybe I'll do a chain stitch actually. So I'm going to come just a little bit ahead. And then I'm going to come back through part way. So I'm going to split those stitches in half and come back through. Good. So it makes that chain look. And I'm going to keep following that tail all the way along. So other ideas of ways to embellish is you can use like glitter glue for fabric. You can use buttons or sequins. You can use fabric markers even. Just be aware of the age appropriateness of anything that you're attaching that can fall off. So if it's glued on or if it's just sewn at the top but can get pulled off, oh, there we go. Then you'll just want to be cognitive of that so that you know, are making the right sewing for the age that you are going to be giving this gift to. All right, and I would just continue as I am there. Oh my goodness, isn't that so sweet already? So I'll just show you a couple other options nice close here. So here's the little chicken. I've done a couple of different stitches. I just accented some of the line work that's already there. And here's the corn, same thing. The line work was already there. You could even put some green lines in there. So go ahead and have fun. Then you're gonna knot this at the back. So you can see my stitches at the back. I just put it through a little bit, just through that first stabilizer, not all the way through all the fabrics. And then I'm going to pull it through that loop. And I do that a couple of times. Once not too tight, and then a second time really close again. And that secures it, but then I also want to leave a little bit of a tail. So I usually just sew through a couple of times away from myself. Good, so I bring that tail out to the other side and I'll just cut it away. Great, so that's what your back looks like. This is what your cute front looks like. And I'm going to take this piece of just felt that I have for the back and I'm going to align it here. Now, as you notice, there are 2 seam allowances. We talked a little bit about that on the first video, but I want to explain why they're here again. So it is really depending on your skill level or your age of your participant that's working with you. If you have this going on in a classroom setting, that you would stitch, if you want the 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're actually going to cut on that line, but before you do, you would stitch in between it at a 1/8 inch all the way around in a matching kind of beige or white thread. And if it's white, you can have your white matching there and you would just sew all the way around. However, if you're just learning to sew and to cut and all that fine motor skills, which are so great for early years education, feel free to use this second 1/2 inch seam allowance here. And again, you can use color that's matching here, or you can sew right on that line. It's really easy to see. So you can sew right on that line and then cut on the outer brown line. And that just gives us a little bit of buffer, because the last thing we want to do is just have our scissors slip and then cut right into our character after we've done all of this work on him, right? So just take your time with small snips, but if you're going to use the outer seam allowance, you are more than welcome to, and that's completely a preference. So as you can see, I have taken this to the sewing machine already, and here is my seam. It's right in the valley of that seam allowance, and then I've cut right on the 1/4 inch edge. So they look like this.
And there you have it. It's that simple. So I'm so happy that you are here. I can't wait to see your creativity just take flight and soar. You can feel free to use any kind of embroidery thread you want. I love using DMC thread. I just grab my box and just rummage through it and find colors that match. I love the creativity of it. I like the spontaneity of it. But please feel free to just be as creative with your stitches as you want to. Again, if you are going to use anything like buttons or sequins or anything else that could be a choking hazard, just be aware of your age appropriateness for the kids that are going to be playing with this, if it's going to be for children. And thank you so much for just sewing along. I love to see what you are sewing. So please do share on social media. If you can tag me at sewastory_Jennifer Long. So that is the new Instagram handle. Sew a Story is the business name that we are moving towards. Formerly Be So Inspired. So they both still work, but on Instagram you'll want to tag me at _Jennifer Long. And I'd be so happy to share the work that you're doing this week. Take your time, have fun, really enjoy embellishments. I do want to also say, if you are planning to make the mobile as well there, you'll want to leave some of the characters for that mobile, or you can see that some are like, you can do two-sided for the mobile too. So you can either have tons of individual characters with just white felt on the back, or you can put like this little doggy, for example, this farm dog, and make him two-sided. So that can be your back felt. So that is your option for either the felt play dolls or right ahead, especially for the mobile, because it will be kind of rotating and turning all the way. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. We have tons of specials that we give. We give discount codes. If you sign up for the Sew Along, we reward you at the end with a big discount code for our next Sew Along and Quilt Along. So please, please, please come on over and experience all the fun. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you next week. Next week, we're making the bag together. So we're going to learn about all the different ways that we can make this bag and the play mat. So I'll see you soon. Bye for now.